Alrighty, we are rocking with Emily Vaca. That doesn't even rhyme. Founder and CEO of MINNIDIP. Probably one of the most fun companies, fun brands that you'll ever come across. I think it brings out the kid in all of us and the adult who still likes to have fun in all of us. So really excited to get to MINNIDIP Story. But Emily, thank you so much for joining. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, of course. Back at you, and we're gonna dive into all things. I'm sure you're just surrounded by dive puns and pool puns and making a splash
am
and
the
everything.
queen of puns, so please
Ooh.
bring them on. That is my
Calder shot.
yeah, my talent at the end to talk about. But
Perfect.
Bring 'em on.
That is some high pressure foreshadowing. But before that, you're also the queen of design, meaning that you have a deep background in design, even going back to school and kind of like your career before MINNIDIP. Can you give us like a day in the life of like how much like design or design thinking, I know that's overused, like how often like design and design thoughts like impact your daily life?
I mean, 300%. It's insane. I can't turn it off. Sadly, I don't get to execute on those thoughts throughout the day because I have so much, operational stuff that usually takes most of my day up, but I can't turn my brain off at all. I'm constantly new idea, new pattern, pun, whatever it may be, always, yeah, unable to shut that one off.
Yeah,
it's a blessing and a curse.
I was just thinking it was a blessing and a curse. Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, you have a knack for design, and
Thank you.
From an early age, what is it that gets you inspired about the world of design?
Oh man, that's a great question. So both of my parents are creative. My mom is more of a fine artist. So drawing, studio arts, lettering. I learned a lot about lettering from her. And my dad actually was in the profession of graphic design. So he taught me Photoshop in seventh grade. So both of my parents being very creative, it just, is kind of where I, started to learn about myself as a kid, and just really always loved coloring and creating and writing. So, that kind of just built up throughout my entire childhood. And then, I was creative in high school and college, from everything from design to studio arts to singing, songwriting. I was a performer. So just my entire world was creative, and luckily I was able to kind of really harness that into something professional. The day out of college, I started in the advertising world, and that's really where the design and marketing side kind of met my really fine arts background, and kind of propelled me into where we are now 15, 20 years later. Kind of losing the math on that, but yeah,
no one's counting.
Yeah, I sure as hell am not anymore.
How do you marry that? Literally marry with your parents, like the fine art side as well as like Photoshop or the more like graphic design side. Like, how do you? I guess how does that inspire like how you view your business and how you create today?
I mean, that really is the thread that pulls it all together for me, especially, with MINNIDIP specifically. I create patterns and, silhouettes and more of the traditional studio art background for that. And then my marketing side comes together with the photography and photo editing and campaign work. I shoot all of our campaign photos for all of our content and campaigns. So I really was able to, my dad taught me how to take photography, very, studio art, fine art element, and kind of turn it into something digital and really, evolve it into what marketing, especially content, is now. Obviously, we had no idea, when I was in high school and college where we would be at now, but just really being able to personalize and create a message with photo, illustration, all of that, kind of bring it all together. The funny thing is my dad, he wanted me to, he actually wanted me to be a writer because I also like writing. But I told him, no, I want to be, a starving artist in college. And he was like, oh, God. Like I can't believe I'm sending like you to college to want to be a studio artist, and like a year in I realized graphic design where it was at. I wanted to do album covers and more, commercial side of art, and that's where I kind of found that marriage. And he was like, okay, thank God, she's not the writer that I was pushing for, but at least somewhere in the commercial space, and could maybe make a living off of it.
Every artist's dream, I'm sure, is for their kid to go into that. It's a tough reputation, the starving artist reputation, but I'm sure there is like a reality there, and there's like a nerve-wracking thing. But you never know. Sometimes an inflatable pool will come around or something like that.
Right.
But the last thing before that, so before you even had the idea for MINNIDIP or launched MINNIDIP. You started your own design house, Vaca Design House. So what sorts of projects were in the work? Like what sort of design did you do before MINNIDIP reared its head?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the day after I graduated college, I went into advertising. And so I was doing everything from 360 campaigns in advertising. So, packaging, TV commercials, websites, content, just really the full gamut of design and marketing. And alongside that, spending so many hours on the computer, crazy hours in advertising, which, even more so as an entrepreneur, it never stops. But I just missed making tangible things with my hands. Also being, just a very in that fine art. So I missed that side of it. So simultaneously, while I was full-time in advertising, I started Vaca Design House. It was a couple different names, but it evolved into what is now Vaca Design House. And it started in the event and interior design space. So it was kind of, just a blog, and then people would see work that I had done and commission me to make either wedding invitations or wedding favors, just different things coming in the wedding space. And then that turned into decor for weddings. And I would also do projects, for my own home, more in the interior design and DIY space. And that's where Vaca started, because I just was missing that tangible part of design. And then eventually, the freelance kind of started picking up, but it still was kind of more of a passion project. And I was trying to figure out, how do I make these things that I'm creating by hand with all this time and mass produce them? And that was something I had no experience in. And that's really where I decided, okay, I want to mass produce a product and not have to make every single one by hand, so that I can get them out to more people. And so that's kind of where that goal of, I really want to create my own product one day. Hopefully it'll be in retail stores one day. But it kind of was living alongside this passion I had, and then also my full-time job in advertising. So it wasn't until the idea of MINNIDIP, popped in my brain as this light bulb moment where I was like, this could be the product that I bring to retail, and started there. So that's, it really evolved from kind of a more design-centric commission company to a product-based company over the years.
So let's pop MINNIDIP into all of our brains. Let's get to the MINNIDIP story. We'll mini dip our toes
dive
in the
in.
water.
Yeah,
maybe just one toe. No. Yeah, exactly. Big splash here. But designer inflatable pools, it's a pretty, just hearing that, it's like a super unique concept. I think, growing up, when everybody thinks of inflatable pools, they, there's probably one or two designs that they think of and can picture, and it's a lot of fun, but it's also like you only think about little kids with that.
Right.
And so there's huge market opportunity there. But MINNIDIP, where did this idea strike you to go off in this awesome, wild, and crazy direction?
It's so niche and so simple that the fact that the opportunity was there and hadn't been discovered yet, I was like, I can't believe this. I have to create this.
Drop everything.
So yeah, exactly. And it took years, but yeah, it was definitely, I felt like this is the thing that could work if I can just push through and figure out how to do it. So yeah, the idea came from, my husband and boyfriend at the time had just moved into a condo together, and we had this awesome roof deck in Chicago. And we were having all of our friends over for one of, our first like parties to show it off. And because of my, Vaca Design House background, I wanted every detail to be perfect, designed the plates and decor and every detail, kind of was really thought out. And the only thing missing was somewhere for everyone to dip their toes in while they're sipping rosé. And so I was trying to convince David to let me get a stock tank, which is what I grew up with in St. Louis City. In our very tiny backyard, we had this galvanized stock tank as our pool. And they're called stock tanks because they're like what livestock drink water out of on a farm, and that's typically where you find them. In the 80s, it was my pool growing up, and I loved it. Now they're super trendy. People are DIYing them and painting them, doing all of these cool things with them. They were not trendy back then, nor were they really yet in 2013 when I had this idea. And so I was trying to convince him. It was a roof deck. He said, there's no way I'm letting you bring a giant metal tub filled with water up here. You have to go get an inflatable pool. And my heart sank because the ones that you were mentioning earlier are the only thing that I could picture, which is what I call the sad blue pool, or ones covered in cartoons. And so I went to the store and bought one, never brought it out of the box because it was going to be the eyesore of this party. And that's really where the light bulb went off of why are there not inflatable pools that look, modern and adult friendly and could fit adults. And it just was such an untapped market, but such a simple idea to modernize it with, on-trend designs. And so that idea was in 2013, and we didn't launch until June of 2017. So it was years of working crazy hours in advertising and simultaneously trying to figure out how do I bring this to life. Number one, finding a manufacturer was the biggest hurdle. But and also I had to be very slow and cautious with it because it had not been done yet, that I couldn't just approach, any manufacturer that makes inflatable pools and try to get this made, because they could be like, great idea, we'll put palm leaves on a, inflatable pool and send it out. So I really needed to kind of be unconventional about the way I reached out. And yeah, in 2017, we launched with 3 patterns. The palm leaf pattern, which I'm wearing, it's our most classic flagship pattern for people who can't see us right now. It's been since 2017 our number one pattern. And so we launched with 3 patterns, palm leaf, watermelon, and donut pool. And now we have over 100 different SKUs. And since launching, there are so many out in the world. So, we call it the Adult Kiddie Pool. That industry has really blown up, pun intended. But we were the first. We really kind of brought this opportunity. And I think so many people are like, how has this not been done? So they kind of, were racing behind us to catch up. And then every year since, we just continue to innovate and bring new inflatable products to market and just really expand around MINNIDIP. But yeah, finally getting it into the world in 2017. I can't believe we just celebrated 7 years. It was pretty crazy.
Congrats. Well, they say
you.
MINNIDIP wasn't built in a day. That's what they say in all the history classes. So you... I'm fully on board. You are queen of the puns, because the blowing up one I didn't even catch until
that's
I
my
think
favorite
I just
one.
caught that. No, that's awesome. So manufacturing like a new item or a new category is a huge, like, really tricky thing to deal with. What advice do you have for any like fellow or aspiring founders out there that need help producing something at scale that like literally doesn't exist in the world yet?
I mean, we started with an IP lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer. I actually was working with him on a patent for another thing, and then this idea came to be. And so I understood from the beginning, and I think also with my background in advertising and seeing competitors in the market and understanding trademarks and packaging and warning labels and all of those things, I had this foundation that let me know that you have to protect your idea. I think so many people like to talk about it a lot. And if you're before it happens, and you have to make connections and put it out there in the world. And to be held accountable, but also you never know who you're going to be in contact with. But you also have to be careful for that same reason. So if you have something that hasn't been out there, I would say protect it as much as you can ahead of time, and then be very careful when you're reaching out to manufacturers or people that might help you bring your idea to life. So for example, instead of contacting, inflatable pool manufacturers, I figured out what the technique was called. So we need RF welding. So I called dozens of US RF welding companies, and just kind of explained a little bit of what I was trying to do, but not fully, to see if they had the capabilities to bring my idea to life without giving them that full picture of what I was trying to do. I think most of them, they did laugh. I think, I was trying to protect it, but also they're like, you want me to do what? We make medical devices and military devices. You want me to use my machines to do what? So, I was also just being careful and kind of feeling around. Eventually I found the right partner to help me, create that introductory collection, and also, had them sign an NDA to protect it. But you have to know, as soon as you get a manufacturer starting, people will know it's coming. So you have to move quick. So very slow, methodical, kind of figuring out what you need. But as soon as you kind of share that out into the world, you have to assume they're behind you. And you have to be really ready to execute and move quickly. Copycats started way faster than I anticipated. We had copycats in the market within 6 to 9 months. But it definitely depends on what it is, because, ours wasn't some crazy technology thing that takes a long time to reverse engineer. Once the idea was out in the world, it was easy to replicate. But yeah, just try to do some research before you share too much, and find the right partner before you, really trust who you're talking to. I think building that trust with a good partner is key.
My family has a 4th-generation RF welding business, so you could have just...
Are you serious? Okay. I was like, what? I have some ideas.
No, I actually don't know what RF welding is, but I do. No, my family, my dad and some uncles have done some welding in the past, though, so there is that.
That's
but
amazing.
I don't know what what is RF welding, by the way?
Radio frequency welding. So it's kind of like, I akin it to like a waffle maker. Okay. It's like a waffle maker. You're melting 2 sheets of vinyl, and they're, you can't iron them together. They have to be like welded. And I always joke that if I could have been somehow DIYing inflatable pools the first year by like sewing them or ironing and melting that, I probably would have done that for the first collection just to make sure it was first. But I knew that wasn't going to be sustainable. So
definitely.
I had to be more methodical.
definitely capture growth there. So one of the most fun things and like most just naturally creative things about your business is the fact that, you said you're up to 100 SKUs now. If you go and look at the MINNIDIP website, it is so fun, literally. Like, there's so much eye candy just to look around and see like the different SKUs you have. And now it's like, you started with like kind of like the tried and true pools, but you kind of expanded beyond that too. So really, really fun stuff. What's like the R&D process for MINNIDIP?
Oh man. I probably have about 15, 20 big ideas that have been sitting around for years.
I thought you were going to say that came up during this conversation. I'm like,
yeah.
I have that effect on people.
A couple puns popped in and I'm like, I got to write that down for later. The R&D, it's just, I'm inspired by everything. Like I said earlier, I can't turn my brain off. So once I really learned how to kind of engineer something inflatable, it really became my canvas. So, also I used to do sewing and different, things like that. So like once I learned kind of how vinyl works as a material and what's capable, that really opened up this door of ideas and products to develop. And the most recent one, which is super exciting, is our balloon garland. And ironically, we had our second pre-order this morning. And
wow,
so I'm a little, thank you. I'm a little out of it because I'm over caffeinated today for the launch. But we sold out in 30 minutes. And it's just been, it's bigger than pools for us, to be honest. So that, kind of, and that came from I had developed balloon garland kits back in the day for Target, and we sold them at Target that matched our pools, because the pool was always, in my mind, the mini dip was always the centerpiece of a celebration. And so every product that we've developed since launching those has been to complement that. So whether it be umbrellas for your backyard, cabanas, towels that match, I'm trying to think what else, drinkware, chairs, everything kind of lives in that world, because like I was trying to do in that very first party, I wanted everything to match. So we've really taken the patterns that have become so iconic, or the colorways and silhouettes, and expanded the assortment around those with it as the centerpiece. And in that process, for Target in 2019, we had our first end cap, and I created these balloon garland kits, which are very common, where, it's traditional latex balloons and this balloon tape and cutouts of the palm leaves to match our palm print pool, and then fruit slices to match our fruit themed pools, because people were creating balloon garlands around them for photos, because it's such an Instagrammable product, right? So we built a bunch of those and launched it. And the feedback we kept getting is that it was so intimidating still to do a balloon garland kit, which anybody that's put one together knows they're insane. And
well, I was going to say, maybe it's because I live under a rock, which is most likely the case, but the term garland, I've never heard it in that sense. What does that mean?
Balloon garland, you can see them behind me right here. We have a few clusters
Like a
for
bunch.
people who can't see. Yeah, so it's a string of garlands all put together. So a garland is something, all strung together. And people started developing these really beautiful balloon garlands, where it's different size balloons and clusters all strung together, so that you can hang them in what we call an arch typically. And really create these, elaborate displays and photo op moments. And so the idea of stringing them all together, it's very time consuming for anybody who's put one together. And they never turn out, like the professionals when you try to make them. So in that process, because I'm understanding, inflatables and how to make things, our pools, our beach balls, our ring floats, I thought, how is there not a version of a reusable one that's vinyl that is already pre-connected? So when you inflate ours, you're inflating one balloon, and it is already connected to 5 others, or we also have a 12 cluster. And so it's a single step inflation, and it's the first of its kind. It wasn't out in the market, and that idea came to me in 2019, and it took 5 years to, what year are we in? 24? Yeah. So it took 5 years to finally get to market. Yeah. And it went viral right away. I knew it was a huge opportunity, because I know how much people love balloon garlands, but I did not anticipate the reaction. It's just been insane. But it's really cool, because using our high quality materials, it's reusable, it's waterproof, it's latex free, which is huge for people who have latex allergies and can't have traditional balloon garlands. And yeah, it's a single step inflation. So it just kind of takes the guesswork out and makes they have hooks on the back, so you can string them together if you want. And yeah, so that has been cooking for a very long time, and we have a lot more coming with that. But today was our second pre-order, because it sold out. The first one sold out in May, and then it went viral, and we had this massive wait list. So we were trying to figure out how to kind of get from there to our second launch. And then we just launched our first pre-order today. And then the second follow-up is Thursday, because we had to stagger it out, and sold out in 30 minutes. And we just couldn't believe it. It's our highest sales day ever on our website.
Wow. Congrats. What a special time. And you're celebrating it with us. Thank you so much. No, congrats on that. I mean, that's like, obviously, as in any company, you need to keep innovating, but like your innovations have innovations, like they have innovative aspects to them. So really brilliant way of going about it. You hinted at Target. Yeah, my pleasure. You hinted at Target, which is like, I mean, a huge break for anybody like that. Well, first of all, before you even got the news you were in there, like how did you, like, what do you think it was about your pitch or about your brand that convince the Target buyers, like, this needs to be part of our stores?
Yeah. So being in Target was my number one goal from day one before I even launched MINNIDIP. And that was, how I said I was trying to find what is my product I can take to retail. Target was
But by the way, if you start
yes.
saying that one line, if I was the Target buyer, I'd be like, sold. All right. She wants to be here. We like her.
Yeah. I mean, they did not, or my buyer, she did not have any clue really how much of a Target fanatic I was, and how much it meant to me. I tried to play it cool in that first pitch. But yeah, Target, I mean, I grew up with Target. It was my favorite place to go. Me and my mom would go every Tuesday because that's when they would put the fresh stock out. It has like this huge, legacy in my family. And so that was my number one goal. I'm a Target girl. And so when I, envisioned how do I have a product on shelf one day, I always thought it would be there. So having that goal, and then also my background in advertising, I had worked on packaging that was on Target shelves and commercials for products that were sold at Target. And I had really developed this understanding of marketing, for the customer in retail and in Target specifically too, that helped me really craft a brand from scratch that would make sense at Target. So going in with that prior to, launching on our .com, it helped me understand that the packaging needed to be on point from day one. So, most e-commerce brands might not even need packaging, but I treated it as if it was going to be on retail shelves the first day it launched. So our packaging was made for retail. And then also it just was the nature of the product. I could send a cold email with a beautiful photo of this beautiful pool that had not been in the market yet and get attention right away. It wasn't technology I had to explain. It wasn't, food that I had to explain the flavor profile about or get them to taste test. It truly, I developed it because I wanted that Pinterest photo of my party, in my Instagram feed. And so it was born from wanting to be beautiful and show off in a photo. And that allowed that cold email to my Target buyer to really speak for itself. I didn't have to say much to get the attention and to get a response. Not to say it was easy, because I did cold email for almost a year to get the right buyer, because, as most people would know, like Target's a massive corporation and they have so many different departments and buyers, as with any, major retailer. So finding the right person and having the right headline in your email to get them to click it open took some finessing, but I didn't have to sell the product that much because it sold itself. So getting that meeting to then, introduce myself and my background and where it was born from, and connect with my buyer, I'm forever grateful to her, because she saw a vision. She saw an opportunity that, knowing it was just me, it was just me at the time. It was just me the first 3 years of the company, and having trust that with my background, I could execute on this. She gave me a huge opportunity, and I had that meeting and the agreement to be in every store the following year nationwide, within a year of launching MINNIDIP. So it was, as soon as I launched it, because I didn't send it ahead of time because I was like, they could just copy it. I didn't, know really what to expect. As soon as it was public, as soon as it was the first, I started emailing immediately, because that was the number one goal for sure.
Well, let's get to the number one moment everyone's been waiting for. Let's get to what I typically call the unusual, but today I'm going to call it the Punusual, because
oh my God, love that.
We're here with the self-proclaimed queen of puns. Not that you put a lot of pressure on yourself, but
I know, now I'm not going to be able to think of anything.
And I don't know where this is going to go, but do you have a favorite pun of all time?
Oh man, there's a lot of things with like my name. Oh my gosh, like
I know,
like
puns are so
the
hard
Empire.
to do in the moment. Oh, Empire
Emily. Yeah, Emily. Being an entrepreneur. I can't even say it right now.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Now I'm getting nervous because I'm on the spot. Yeah, anything with like M or Oh my gosh, that's Banana Leaves is the first name of the palm leaf print because our pup's name is Bananas. So it's like always kind of just like adding them in where I can, even if like they're not really true puns where people know. I'm trying to think.
What about
there's
Vaca?
so many.
I feel like there's a lot you can do with Vaca.
Oh, we do have a lot, but it's trademarked, so I can't really disclose it right now. Our company did start out with a pun of our name, and then it evolved because there's another company that starts with Vaca that had the same name.
Got it. I have to share that when my wife Dana asked your name, like when I was listening to these interviews as prep for this, as research for it, she's like, "What's the name?" She thought the name was Vodka. And was like,
yeah, my mom thought, this is my boyfriend David Vodka, and she was like, is he Russian? I was like, no, he's Mexican. He's Mexican, and it means cow in Spanish. So there's a lot of
it sounded familiar.
Yeah, so it means cow in Spanish. So our logo, the V of our logo, is actually shaped. I made it to look like a cow head. So it has like the horns across the ears across the top, and then the V is the face, and there's actually a hidden D and E in there for Emily and David. But yeah, so there's a lot of cow situations in our office and our house.
I love hidden logos. One of the and puns and logos like that. Like we had my friend Crystal Prophet, who's got a couple awesome podcasts. So she's like a podcast expert as well. She has a podcast that she did for like many years, like daily podcast called The Potty Report, and it was like a reference to being podcast, but the artwork had a toilet in it because it was going to the potty. So there you go. But
amazing.
How about MINNIDIP? Like, how often do puns come up at work that your team is like, all right, Emily, just stop?
Oh my God, it's my husband. Poor David. It really is. Like the other night he was like, I can see the wheels turning. Like he'll make a joke and then I immediately like pause and I'll be like looking at him and he was like, I see you trying to ruin it with a pun. Stop. Like it's immediate that I try to like one up it. But MINNIDIP is a pun itself, kind of, I guess. So it's a play on skinny dip, which is why it has two N's in it. People, spell it with one N a lot. But yeah, the two N's are from skinny dip, and it's a play on a small dip, a small pool, but also it was really important that I wanted to create a name that was a verb and a noun. So we go mini dipping, and it's a mini dip. So that for sure kind of was where it started after having a list of like 500 other names that kept coming back to MINNIDIP. But yeah, like Dip Dip Hooray is our tagline. I'm trying to think. We call dips like instead of dibs. And oh my God, just mini everything, but with two ends.
You could do a ton with mini and with dip and with skinny dip. And as I told you about before we hit record, because I had to tell you right away, when I was listening to an interview and prep for this, I think it must have been because I was in the other room or something, or like folding clothes or something. Maybe the sound was muffled, but I swear a fellow podcast host called it mini dick. So I'm surprised you didn't go with that route.
We have to buy the URL now and redirect it to our website.
I'm not going to search that URL, but be my guest. But all right, well, let's say there's no better time. There's no better time to wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Okay. I guess so.
All right, we won't talk about anyone's crotch. Let's get wild. I'll try to ask a normal question for once. If you could only pick one of your SKUs to be at your home, what would it be?
Oh man. We have a MINNIDIP on our roof deck pretty much every weekend. Even if we don't get to get into it and enjoy it, it's for testing purposes. And then the garland has
awesome
been
testing.
Yeah, we just got to make sure let it sit in the heat in the sun for a while. And then every weekend we're working by trying to test the product, so that's fun, and also we never get to just enjoy it anymore, but that's okay. The garland has been hanging up in our living room for about 2.5 months since Mother's Day when I installed it for a reel. So that is just like a permanent installation in our house now. But the funny thing with like all of our patterns that I create, and we've evolved, not everything is a pattern now, but I created them because I'm a designer, not an artist. I like to explain the distinction of like an artist has a style and they have their illustration style and people go to them because they kind of create things that look very similar and they have a technique that they're known for, a signature. As a designer, I'm usually creating for others instead of more from a fine art side. So every pattern that I create, I try to envision a particular person who wants to match it to their swimsuit, to their style. But I will say my personal style is like the Bora Bora and the Tulum are my top 2 favorite patterns that I've ever created. And that's usually, we have remnants of those throughout the house, whether it be like a towel or, different artwork around. So yeah, it's hard to pick. But we always have some water feature and then the garland for sure.
In Bora Bora, Tulum, like, just the names take you on vacation, so pretty clever there as well.
They were inspired from vacations in both locations.
There you go. You find inspiration from vacations from your product and vice versa. It's the an vicious circle.
Vacation, Vaca.
There we go.
There, that was the original pun for our honeymoon.
Yeah, that you could drink vodka on. Perfect.
Yes.
All right. You are. Now, you said St. Louis City. You mean like St. Louis, Missouri? Or is there a separate city called St. Louis City?
Well, I lived in the city, which I was very proud of.
Okay, that's
St.
what I
Louis
thought.
is very large. A lot of
The Lou.
suburbs. Yeah. They're from the Lou, and I'm proud. I'm from the Hill, which is the like Little Italy of St. Louis the city. So yeah, I grew up there, forever, and then moved to Chicago.
So how does it feel? I know there's like, big Midwest rivalry, which is tough to say, between, and I'm from the Midwest, between St. Louis and Chicago. How does it feel to be like a quote unquote, enemy sports fan in Chicago?
We like to go to the Cards Cubs games all together, but we're not rooting for any particular team. We're kind of in the middle. I'm definitely a Bears fan.
You're rooting for MINNIDIP.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my dad my dad still lives in St. Louis, and then we've lived in Chicago now for 20 years. I've lived in Chicago longer than St. Louis. So yeah, it's fun to kind of, it depends on who's scoring, and then, where I'm like, I cheer for everybody, but I'm definitely a Bears fan.
Awesome. Looking at your background, I saw that you worked you did some work with what I think is an agency. Was it called Euro or Gyro?
Oh, Gyro. Yeah, but it's spelled like Euro, right?
Well, that's really the main thing I wanted to know, because I saw that and I instantly started craving a Euro.
It was very confusing when I first started working there, for sure.
That was more of a statement for clarification than a question. Yeah. But last one. Besides a MINNIDIP, what is the most beautiful sight from a Chicago roof deck? Like, what's your favorite day of the year to enjoy the roof deck?
Oh man, it's definitely. Fall is my favorite. October is my favorite month. That's when my husband and I got married. I'm definitely. I love the fall, and from our roof deck, we can actually see the Sears Tower. It's crazy. Like, they cut a tree line, just like a little dip, so we can. A dip, if you will.
A mini dip.
From our deck, so I can see the city there, which is that is always amazing. And then also on the other side of our roof, which basically touches our bedroom window, is the L train, and it goes by. We live directly. It's very loud. Some of the photos.
The classic Chicago, room starts shaking. No, it's
Yes.
Pretty cool for the atmosphere.
Yeah. We always have to pause the TV when the train goes by in the morning, but we're used to it after being there for about almost 10 years now. But yes, the train, seeing it go by, I still can't get over it. There's a lot of photos from a roof deck from our very first photo shoot, and you can see the train going by in the background, which is, that's probably my favorite scene from Chicago.
Perfect. Well, let's bring this train home. Emily, thank you so much. This has been a blast. I stand by even more so now that you have one of the most fun businesses brands out there. So thank thanks so much for coming on. And where's
Thank
the
you.
best place if people want to try out MINNIDIP or just connect with you online? Where's the best place to send them?
Yeah, so I would head to our Instagram or our website. We are at MINNIDIP and minnidip.com. And don't forget there are 2 N's in MINNIDIP, so MINNIDIP. And then from there in our profile, you can find me. It is in the bio of our Instagram handle, but my handle is Vaca, and that's a little bit of a behind the scenes more from my perspective.
Vaca. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
What a name. Perfect. And then last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote, a final pun, just like a word of wisdom to leave everyone with. Take us home here.
Oh boy. I would say this is the first thing popping in my head. So, but as a perfectionist, I always wanted everything to be perfect before I launched it. It would never have happened. Eventually I just had to dive in and get it done. And I would say, get it as far as you can, but don't let perfectionism hold you back. Progress over perfection.
Bring on the bongos!